So we're here this afternoon with Todd Barkan from the newly relocated Keystone Korner from its historic place in San Francisco.
All right.
And Todd, thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today.
No problem.
You know, since the last time I saw you last October, this joint was jumping with the Steve Carrington band. It was a triumphant homecoming for him, he and Cyrus Chestnut.
Right.
And since then, the world has changed.
Oh, yeah.
So, so what's happening here at the Keystone Korner now, and what do you expect going forward?
Well, we're getting ready to go out into the digital realms and reopen soon. God willing, and the creek don't rise, we should be open next week. And actually, Cyrus will be back next weekend as part of an all-star band that we're just putting together. Sean Jones will help us get open again next Thursday. And mainly, we're just going into a next chapter. We're going to start our first streamed broadcast this Saturday. It's going to be on at 3 o'clock on Saturday. And it's Joe Locke and the great two vibraphonists of two generations of the best vibraphonists we know. Joe Locke and Warren Wolf are going to play together for our first broadcast, which is kind of very appropriate. It is very appropriate because Bobby Hutcherson was such an integral part of the original Keystone. So Warren and Joe are going to keep the beat. The beat goes on with Joe Locke and Warren Wolf together, and doing a wonderful remote broadcast here on stage. It'll be our first streamed broadcast ever from Keystone Korner here in Baltimore. So, and then next week we just got word from the state of Maryland that restaurants can open at 50% capacity. So we're going to reopen next Thursday, and Sean Jones will be here, and then Cyrus on the weekend, and then a wonderful Father's Day concert will be coming up after that. Roy Ayers is scheduled to come, Hubert Laws, to Christian Sands, and we just keep a whole lot of music going on. Dee Dee Bridgewater, just a whole lot of great music, that we're working on presenting. I mean, Keystone Korner is a healing place, just like the best music places that we've ever been blessed to have in our music world. And it's a place for people to come together, and this music is a place for people to come together. I mean, I think it's in many ways one of the most democratic idioms that the arts world has and the human race has ever been blessed by. Because to truly have music swings, everybody has to sublimate their own egos and their own expectations and everything, and get in the groove and really swing with each other. It's a combination of freedom and discipline. That's a wonderful experience, and to be able to tell your own story in your own way is one of the greatest blessings and liberating things about jazz. And the fact that you never can really repeat yourself. You're always eternally recreating yourself through jazz. And it's about shared cycles of creativity. In other words, people, like Art Blakey used to say, it comes from the creator to the musician to you. And that cycle, it keeps going. It doesn't stop there. It comes from the creator to the artist to the audience, back to the artist. And they're creating a cycle of creativity where the audience becomes an important part of how the music is created and what is created.
You briefly mentioned about Bobby Hutcherson and the Keystone Korner when it was on the left coast, if you will.
Right.
One of my fondest memories of Keystone Korner was a New Year's Eve night in the early '80s. It was a tribute to Dexter Gordon, and it was a live broadcast. I think it was Gerald Wilson and Leonard Feather were hosting.
Oh yeah,
and you had, the place was jam packed with talent, and Sonny Stitt, Buster Williams, Cedar Walton, you know, and
Billy Higgins.
Billy Higgins was there.
Robbie Hutcherson. It was a wonderful. That was the Dexter Gordon Holiday Jazz Festival.
And most definitely, and the thing that stood out in my mind about that night was the raucous rendition of "Auld Lang Syne" by Ernie Andrews.
Right.
And I remember Cedar Walton playing one of probably the most beautiful piano pieces. It was a waltz, in fact, that Cedar played that night. It was just a tremendous night. And I just kind of wanted to get some of your favorite memories of the old Keystone Korner.
Well, some of my, of course, you have to include Russ and Roland Kirk, who was my mentor from Columbus, Ohio, and a teacher and inspiration. And he recorded Bright Moments there. And I actually was very fortunate enough to be able to play on that session. But what was wonderful about that was just the vibration in the club, and that recording session, which became a 2-album set, really put the Keystone on the map, and those were some incredibly bright moments. McCoy Tyner was a big part of the Keystone Korner from beginning to end. I mean, his music, the transcendent nature of his music, whether it was in his own earliest bands with Azar Lawrence, his first band, which was incredible, with Alphonse Mouzon, Calvin Hill, and Sonny Fortune. McCoy went on with bands with Azar Lawrence, Wilby Fletcher, Guillermo Franco, Junie Booth, and then McCoy played with Freddie Hubbard. We did a benefit concert. One of the greatest moments actually wasn't inside the Keystone, but it was for the Keystone Korner. February 17th, 1973. Then in 1975, we did a benefit concert for the Keystone Korner at the Paramount Theater in Oakland, and we raised money to get a liquor license, which helped us stay open until 1983, and a hard liquor license. Then Grover Washington and George Benson did another benefit concert at the same place, and we raised money to knock down the walls and build a kitchen. So those are the things that helped the Keystone really establish itself.
Going forward here at the newly relocated Keystone Korner, what are your thoughts about possibly using the venue to do perhaps live recordings?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we've actually done 3 live recordings already. And we have an excellent recording facility that's been made better now because we've been working the last several months on creating a platform for streaming. So there's audio-visual recording now, where there was only audio recording. So already Cindy Blackman just made a live recording here. This will come out probably in the next year or so. And also Eddie Palmieri did a magnificent recording here with his Afro-Caribbean Sextet, and Stanley Cowell with his quintet. With Freddie Hendrix. So we've done a good, for our first year, we've done some significant recordings already, and we hope to do more. It just depends on whether the artists have a desire to do it, and it's a major part of having a club like this is documentation of the music as well as sharing it with the audience. And I think that we're having some streaming going on. We can do more. Sharing to a more global audience. So the sharing dimension gets to be bigger.
So, and one of my final questions for you is, what was the thought pattern to bring the club here to the wonderful city of Baltimore?
What really brought us to Baltimore, people have asked me in quite a few interviews and articles about how did you choose Baltimore? Well, Baltimore, I didn't choose Baltimore at all. Baltimore kind of chose me, or just life itself. Certain stars conjoined to bring us to this point, because I was named an NEA Jazz Master in 2018, and my classmates were Pat Metheny, Diane Reeves, and Joanne Barkan. And after that happened, we had a ceremony at the Kennedy Center, and the host of the awards dinner was a wonderful guy named Robert Wiedmeyer, who owns the whole RW restaurant group, including Marcel's, which is the #1 French restaurant in DC. So we became friends, and our wives became friends, and we started hanging out a little bit, and we started dreaming dreams. What if we created a great club, you know, with the best music in the world and the best food in the world at the same time? And that was our dream. And originally we thought, this was 2 years ago, April of 2018. We thought, well, let's do it in D.C. So we looked around in D.C. and it just was logistically very challenging. And the parking, the zoning, the rents in that area were intimidating. And there was the Kennedy Center was already in operation and quite a bit happening. But Robert remembered that he owned a place up here that was dark. It had been closed for a year because of the construction that just went on in this area, and this area was kind of just closed. You know, it was really quiet for almost a year and a half. And we decided to reopen this location as a jazz club, as a Keystone Korner Baltimore. So it kind of happened very naturally. The National Endowment of the Arts becoming an NEA Jazz Master, it became part of that whole. Without that, I would have never met Robert, and this club would have never happened. So it all was just part of an overall process where the music, my motto is take care of the music and the music will take care of you. And in that
Indeed.
case, the music did create this result.
Well, Todd, thank you so very much for your time. I know you're a very busy person. And lastly, you know, you mentioned food, and my wife and I were able to order a great plate of food here, and I just want you to talk a little bit about the food and how it's available to the public now. And
well, we started doing carry-out food here at Keystone Korner, and that's a new thing caused by the pandemic, and in reaction to, or in coordination with, so that we could keep getting the food out to the community. And in that process, we're developing a carry-out business. And the food is really American, you know, kind of a European take on American standard food. I mean, and Chesapeake Bay classics like the great crab cake. There's wonderful steak and hamburger and you know, very deviled eggs and all kinds of classic American things that kind of got with a little bit of a European twist to it. And that's what the food is all about. It's Robert Wiedmeyer. He's a Michelin-starred chef, so we're pretty proud of our food here.
well, Todd, thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you going forward, man.
Well,
and thanks for your time.
Look forward to being, sharing some more bright moments with you as soon as possible.
Thanks so much, Todd.
Thank you.